Welcome everybody to the September the 18th edition of Pop the Question, where myself and AJ will be going through all your comments in the chat, including Bry being Bry. I'm trying to work out what this is a reference to, or whether this is just to make sure that I'm not drunk. All bubble-blowing babies will be beaten senseless by every able-bodied patron in the bar.
That is a reference. That is a reference to the SpongeBob movie.
Right. And then bars put again, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can't remember that.
That's a fun thing to do.
Right. What I'll also do while I've got to sort other stuff. Bry's first question, just so I can get away with everything. Thoughts on December's Criterion lineup? It's not much.
Finally, something else escapes Netflix prison. That makes me very, very happy. Anytime something can escape Netflix and come to Criterion will be celebratory, especially when it's something as great as Pinocchio. I'm also happy about the Red Balloon having like other things with it, because I think was there like early talk about the Red Balloon going to Criterion, or some discussion we had, because I remember thinking like, oh, but it's like, 20 minutes or half an hour long. Can you do a full Criterion release for like a short? So I'm glad that they're like releasing it with other things. I don't remember what that third. I haven't seen that third one, but it just sounds like something that I would be. It actually sounds kind of similar to something I've written, or I've at least written an outline for, which is a little worrisome. But so I probably should check it out for the sake of my own well-being. But it sounds like something that I would really love, so I would like to check that out as well. But I don't really know much of anything about it apart from like a very basic synopsis. Apparently it's very short and in the crime noir area, so I'm potentially getting Detour vibes from it, which would be very interesting. Which, interestingly enough, I think was just dropped in Patton Oswalt's closet video, which I'm kind of surprised he hadn't done it before now, because it's definitely something that suits him. He's kind of like, listening to Patton Oswalt sort of give speeches about art house movies. Kind of feels like the art house version of a Kevin Smith discussion, where he can just go on and on and on. But it's like, if you haven't seen the video of Patton Oswalt introducing a screening of Eraserhead, that's highly recommended. Yeah, that's about as much as I can stall on that question, I think. So now it is just a matter of how far away Ashley is and when that return will be. There he is. Okay, perfect timing.
When you have to move shelves in order to get to the immersion heater so you've actually got heating. I'm cursed. All I'll say is, yeah, I think as you said, Pinocchio's getting a physical release. Good. I'm not sure about the other ones. I'm not gonna turn them down, but that's the standout. Bryder says I'm excited for one of them. I'm hoping it's that. For all I know, it probably could be. It could be that Alan Barron, Blast of Silence. I don't know. I'll save Bry's personal Oscars lineup for in a little bit, because Spencer is back. Hey guys, I'm back and in good spirits. Good to see. Loving that AJ has brought back verses. And Rugrats and Dragons ones have been best in the history of the segment.
There's one I'm getting ready to do that I'm more excited to do it than I thought I would have been. So we'll see how it goes.
Wondering what you guys thought of The Fallout with Jenna Ortega and directed by Megan Park. I don't think that ever came out over here, and if it did, they stealthily put it somewhere.
Yeah, it was on the front like it was on the front page of HBO Max for like 3 months. Yeah, somehow, even despite that, I never actually watched it. But I actually love Jenna Ortega, so I I'm not even sure why I haven't checked it out because it's been in my mind, but I just never got around to it actually.
And Megan Park's got her sophomore film coming out in the next year or so, I think. It's from Rachel Ziegler's back in it, following on from The Fallout. Just watch the 2020.
It annoys me that when I turn my nose up at Rachel Zegler, people are gonna think I'm doing it because of that. And it's like, no, I've hated her longer than that.
I just watched Brothers, the 2023 one. Great movie about brotherhood. I recommend it for AJ and Chris to watch.
I'm not sure what that is. I'm assuming it's not related to the movie that was then remade by Jim Sheridan. I'm assuming they didn't remake it again.
Let's have a look. I'm guessing it isn't the Macon Blair comedy with Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage. Probably. Just having a look. Oh, there's a Czech film. It may be that one. Feel free to clarify, Spencer. Yeah, there's a Czech. It's Czech's entry for the Oscars, apparently. Following two brothers who put up armed resistance against the communist regime in Czechoslovakia during the early 50s. I'm guessing it's that one. Unless it is the Peter Dinklage one, in which case... What? Then again, I don't know if the Peter Dinklage one is even coming out this year. Considering how it doesn't have a release date, my guess is no. But weirder things have happened. I also recommend the movie Giant Little Ones.
I'm not sure what that is.
Let me have a quick look at that one. Giant Little Ones.
I feel so unprepared for this Q&A already.
Oh, it's something that isn't new for a change. It's a 2018 Canadian drama with Carl McLachlan and Maria Bello as the parents of a teenage boy whose lives are upended after their son and a friend involved in an intimate incident after a party. Written and directed by Keith Berman. Let's see if Keith's done anything of note. Flower and Garnet. And that's it.
What? I don't know. Just judging by the cast and the plot, that sounds like one of those movies I would have gotten out of Redbox in 2008 and been pleasantly surprised by. I don't know why I get that very specific vibe from it.
The guy from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, who plays Matthews Roderick does great indie films.
Not Devin Bostick. Yeah. It does seem like he pops up in the most random places. Oppenheimer being another one. Another random place, not an indie movie, obviously.
Sometimes that's the best, I don't know. Right. So now jumping back to Bry's personal Oscars lineup for the best ensemble. So we're throwing the SAG in here, basically for 2010 onwards. For 2010, Bry has Another Year, Incendies, The King's Speech, Toy Story 3, and the winner being Inception. For 2011, The Help, Kung Fu Panda 2, My Week with Marilyn, A Separation, and the winner being Midnight in Paris. For 2012, Django Unchained, Les Mis, The Sessions, Wreck-It Ralph, and the winner being Moonrise Kingdom.
I would say for ensemble, there's something blatantly missing from 2011, and that movie is going to be in the next verses, actually.
For 2013, August Osage County, or Osage, I don't know. The Cruise, Despicable Me 2, Hobbit Desolation of Smaug, and the winner being 12 Years a Slave.
Okay. Desolation of Smaug is a choice. Okay.
For 2014, Gone Girl, Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies, Into the Woods, Selma, and the winner, unsurprisingly, being Grand Budapest. For 2015, The Hateful Eight, Inside Out, Star Wars Force Awakens, Straight Outta Compton, and the winner, Mustang.
Inspired.
For 2016, Florence Foster Jenkins, Land of Mine, My Life as a Zucchini, Zootopia, and the winner being 20th Century Women. For 2017, go ahead.
I wish I was more passionate about Mike Mills than I am. I don't dislike him by any means. I just wish I was more passionate about him.
Yeah. For 2017, I, Tonya, The Post, Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and the winner, The Big Sick. In terms of ensembles, that's a good 5, to be fair.
That's a good 4, definitely. Definitely a good 4. Yeah.
I saw that coming from a mile off.
Hey, whatever gets Paul Walter Hauser a mention, then I'll take the 5.
For 2018, Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Black Panther, Mary Poppins Returns, The Wife, and the winner, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That's a good one.
For 2019, Jojo Rabbit, Klaus, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, Toy Story 4, and the winner being Little Women.
Wow, that started great, and then I don't know what the fuck happened.
For 2020, Judas and the Black Messiah, Onward, Tenet, Trial of the Chicago 7, and the winner being Another Round.
Okay, I really like that one. That's a good 5.
2021, Encanto, The Hand of God, King Richard, Tragedy of Macbeth, and the winner, No Time to Die.
Okay, I've been a little baffled by Brian's love for No Time to Die since it started, but that's okay.
And for 2022, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I can get away with saying it. Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery, and the winner. Women are talking. Women are talking. They be talking. That talk. Back to Spencer's comments. I love Night Must Fall. Have we ever seen it?
I'm assuming that's the one from 1937 because I think it got remade at one point.
See, now I see a 1964 British film. Is that the remake? Which is weird because normally it's the other way around.
Yeah, because yeah, because it's like it's a thriller where like Robert Montgomery is like stalking around the old lady's house whose name I've forgotten. Um, I remember being a little let down by that concept and what the movie is, but I also think I was at a place where my mind wasn't as open to what you could do with the thriller genre, and I was expecting something a little more, maybe something a little more straightforward is what I was expecting. But I guess maybe it's slower than I was expecting, which is something I feel like I'd much more appreciate now. But I will say I have been planning to see it again, and the reason I've been planning to see it again anyway, just because I love the genre, and I know I'd probably love it again if I could appreciate it better. But
Mhm.
I made a watch list like I guess this would have just been a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago. Yeah, it was like right at the start of COVID, actually. Um, I made a watch list in the weirdest way.
No. How
um,
so?
do you remember? Do you remember when Amy Adams's movie *The Woman in the Window* came out on Netflix, and it was this really shitty thriller that everybody hated, myself included. Um, *The Woman in the Window's book is actually really interesting because the character that Amy Adams plays is obsessed with classic thrillers. So basically, three-fourths of that book is basically just a textbook for classic thrillers. And she
Ah.
talks about like she like schedules her day around when she watches which movie, and it gets really specific. And like what 1/4 of it is the plot of the book, and the rest of it is just her talking about classic thrillers. And like her and her husband would make like ranked lists and stuff, and it's like that's the best part of the book by far. Like it's worth getting that book just as a textbook for like making a classic thriller watch list. It's there's one character where there's a whole segment where she's like recommending stuff to him and explaining it. And it's like this is not like a narrative novel. This is just like I said, a handbook on thrillers. And so, and Night Must Fall comes up in that. And so it's on. I've made like a whole watch list and rewatch list out while reading that book, and was barely paying attention to the plot. So that's how Night Must Fall initially came back to me.
Considering how the remake is Albert Finney in the lead role, I'm more intrigued by that one. Especially because it's the director of
Did
Saturday Night and Sunday Morning as well.
did, did Spencer specify which one he was talking about?
I don't think so.
I might have just explained that whole thing for no reason. He might have actually been talking about that one.
If you want to clarify, Spencer, if you are still around, uh, which one it is. Oh, Bri did say it's Del Toro's Pinocchio. Wow. True. And a lot. Then again, if we're not doing one for a month, everybody's getting. Remember Mars needs Mars. LOL. I didn't think that was like. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. I think the one that I'm thinking that like people crapped on for that much, not that much reason was Aliens in the Attic. I was about the same time.
Aliens in the Attic is mostly live action. I think I know what you're thinking of, but I
It
can't
might be
place the
Mars
title at
Need
the moment.
Mums. There's quite a few of those that sort of like I just found out that I mean Fry and Laurie are reuniting for an animated version of the Canterville Ghost that's coming out only on like Saturday and Sunday afternoon for the kids to watch. I'm like, and this is how we get the reunion of them? What the hell? Also with like David Harewood and Imelda Staunton and like other like good names, and it's only playing at a weekend because I don't know. To be fair, my cinema apparently thinks that film should only start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So all the old people that might want to see something in sort of like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, when there's like public transport to get to the place, nah, like that goes out the window. That being said, I'm actually amazed that my locals got the Dumb Money screening, which I'm hoping to maybe go and see. Try and work out where the time fits and everything. Spencer also says, "I love I'll See You in My Dreams."
That's the one with Blythe Danner, I think. That's that's one of those ones that I got from the library and I watched it, but it didn't really stick. Is Sam Elliott in that, or am I thinking of something else? It might be her and Sam
I mean,
Elliott.
I'm searching for.
I remember like a romantic drama where Sam Elliott was like a supporting player and had really good chemistry with the lead, and that was nice. Maybe that's it. Maybe I remember it more than I thought.
Yeah, there's the. I mean, there's the original. Hang on, double check the name of it. So there's the musical film of Doris Day and Danny Thomas from 1951.
There's, I think you may have lost sound. Yeah, you definitely lost sound. There are way too many movies that share titles. I think this is the third time in this video we've run into movies sharing titles and that causing issues.
That's why I like I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, because nobody else is dead to do anything like that. Yeah, so yeah, the Blythe Danner and Sam Elliott from 2015.
Okay, yeah,
There's
that is a
also a
good movie. Now that
2003 horror short film. So the only reason I
yeah,
bring
now,
it up is because Spencer follows that up with, "I had a dream that Ashley was wearing a Jason mask in a live stream with a machete." Well, I know what I'm doing at the bloody Poundland shop for stuff. Prepared to be shit scared on one of the movie clubs if I can remember. Please tell me Knock Off Jason being so cheap.
I mean, we are getting ready to do the horror ones. Those are the next ones. So.
Exactly. And considering some of the makeup that's used in Horror Express, it might be fitting to get a really dodgy Halloween mask that's like, what the hell? Josie says, "Hey, podcast team, I finished reading Strangers by Taichi Yamada, the novel All of Us Strangers is based off of. Interestingly, prior to All of Us Strangers, the book was adapted into a film in 1988 called The Discarnates, directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi, who directed House. I don't think the Hugh Laurie one. It's all linking tonight. What the hell's going on?" I also read Bird in a Box, not to be confused with Bird Box, by Andrea Davis Pinky, and Simon Sort of Says by Erin Bow. Both really good books. Spencer now comes in. This is limited for me because, like, these were always pricey. And to be honest, the only ones I've got are the ones that they dare release in the UK that aren't region blocked. Favorite Criterion release? Because the only ones that I think I'm aware of that came out over here are, at least on DVD, that weren't region 1, is Roma, Irishman, Marriage Story. You can see a trend there. Then One Night in Miami, and then also randomly the Rolling Stones review. I think that was the Scorsese one, wasn't it? From like 6 or 7 years ago. Anyway, you've probably got a load on your shelf. I need to get my dinner and try and work out what the hell's going on.
Well, the thing about this one is I'm not sure if it's like your favorite movie that has a Criterion release, or if it's like based on packaging or features. I am not entirely sure. The box sets are kind of hard to resist. Like the one of my favorite possessions, period, is the Bergman box set. I've also got the Ramir one and the Diedrich and von Sternberg one. The one that's always evaded me is the Cassavetes one. The one that every director that's like ever been in the Criterion Closet always picks the Cassavetes one. And the Tati one and the Demi one. All those would be fantastic also. But I mean, as far as individually, what would be fantastic is if The Devil and Daniel Webster got a Blu-ray would be nice, and like a revamp, because obviously it's part of the collection, but as far as I know, it's just that DVD that's part of the old collection before they did the revamp with the new logo and everything. So that would be up there. As far as Devil Webster, as far as my favorite movie in the collection, I think would be that. I also love the packaging for Videodrome, where the other side of the spine looks like the VHS with the tape. Which I have some DVDs that actually look like that, even though it's something that's always associated with VHS. So yeah, I guess there's numerous answers for the numerous angles this could come from. Uh, I also have Berlin Alexanderplatz, which I've had Berlin Alexanderplatz for like 5 years, and I still haven't gotten around to it. It's a huge commitment, but I love the Dazed and Confused packaging also. By the way, if my direction's confusing, my Criterion DVDs are over there and the Blu-rays are back here, so I have to keep turning to address them. And as we talked about, I just always love that they picked up Something Wild, because Something Wild was so hard to find. The Demi one that we talked about, that's one of my favorite movies. That movie was almost always impossible to find until Criterion put it out. So that's another one. Like I was talking about with the Bergman box set, where it's just one of my favorite possessions. Period. It's just one of my favorite things that I own. Uh, so that probably tackles that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's annoying because I think the Criterions are coming out sort of on Blu-ray over here. It's just the I wanted to get the DVDs because they actually bothered to release them in sort of the region 2 region, so it's like they're official. I don't need a multi-region thing. Holy shit. And I think in all cases they're all 2-disc affairs as well, especially for Irishman, because probably the movie could only fit on 1 disc just barely.
Yeah, I speaking of that era, I do love how Marriage Story came with the letters that they wrote to each other. Is a really nice addition. But something else that I am just so happy to own is another one that seemed like it was kind of off the radar before Criterion picked it up was Spike Lee's Bamboozled, which is my favorite Spike Lee movie, and I fucking love Spike Lee. I understand why people didn't take to this. I understand why people were really put off by it. But even Ebert, who was one of Spike Lee's big like cheerleaders, kind of hated this. But it's one of the most insane movies I've maybe ever seen, and I'm so glad that they put it out because I feel like it was almost on the verge of like disappearing, and then lo and behold, like right at the time I was thinking that. It's funny. Also, I just talked about Ebert being his cheerleader. I just realized that on my shelf it's next to Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, which Ebert wrote, so it's perfect. Oh man, we lost sound again. While you're fixing that, I'll also say, even though they haven't been part of like the revamped age, I kind of love that like when you go way back, Armageddon and The Rock are technically in the Criterion Collection, and that period where they just went for Bay is really interesting. I own both of those. I'm not even crazy about Armageddon. I just got the Armageddon Criterion for the novelty, like just to say that I have.
No,
like I can't believe this exists.
I find it interesting that I look for the Criterion Collection like official releases, and nearly everything that comes up is like BFI collections or Artificial Eye or everything else that isn't Criterion. And even when I specify I want the UK ones, we still get some region ones sneaking in because they're idiots. So to correct myself, well, to make sure I'm right, the only 5 that officially came out here were Irishman, Roma, One Night in Miami, Marriage Story, and Rolling Thunder Review, a Bob Dylan story by Martin Scorsese. They're the only 5 have been on Region 2 discs. All, or at least not all, but a lot of the Blu-rays have like releases. Of course, when you get that far, they get pricey as all hell. I mean, the DVD of Marriage Story is $15. The Blu-ray's $26. I'm pretty sure all the extras are exactly the same. So what?
It's worth noting that my Criterion Collection is not near as expansive as it should be because they fucking cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
I have no idea how people have like full on like people have Criterion collections that look like this, and I don't know how the fuck that happens. It's impossible. I've got a nice couple of rows here of Blu-rays, and there's a shelf over there of DVDs, and that's it. I'm working on building it though. I did just get One False Move that they just put out. This is like the closest to being like brand new I've gotten a Criterion, I think, besides I pre-ordered The Irishman when it came out. Mm-hmm. Which weirdly enough, I pre-ordered The Irishman for like $20, and it's like never been that cheap since. So I just kind of lucked out on The Irishman.
I mean, I was looking, like everything is £15, apart from Roma, which is $12. It's not on offer. It's just there. Like, okay. So the other format listed is paperback, and I'm like, Blu-ray's changed, isn't it?
Yeah, with the with the exception of what I just said about Armageddon, I'm like really picky about what I get on Criterion because of the fucking prices. Mm-hmm. So it feels like a bigger. That also makes it feel like a bigger deal when I do have them. So yeah. That's nice.
The thing that helps, of course, if it is something like Pinocchio, in that it's probably the only way it's going to get a physical release.
Yeah, I still don't have the Power of the Dog yet, which I really need to get on.
That's the only reason I bought. What was it? What thing versus the Machines?
The Mitchells versus the Machines.
Yeah. Mitchell's versus Machines randomly out on home media because although it's on Netflix, it's like Sony or whatever studio, so there's still a home media market that they can capitalize on. I was like, well, people said it was
I
good. Bye.
I really want Criterion to start pursuing Apple, because if I don't get Joel Cohen's The Tragedy of Macbeth on Blu-ray, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I need that to happen. And it seems like the perfect thing. That movie would be so perfect in the Criterion collection. Apple needs to like stop fucking holding their movies hostage. I know I've gone down this path so many times before, but and now they've got a fucking Best Picture winner under their belt that nobody's ever gonna fucking see unless they have Apple.
Which also
It's
makes me
sad.
wonder what's going to happen to Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm guessing because it's a co-production with Paramount, there's a chance it shows up on Paramount Plus. Probably.
That could be, because you would think. Well, I don't know. I don't know which of them would have more power, but
I know it's like a pre-order, tickets at the cinema here, or at least one of the chains, which I'm tempted to, but all you've got listed is sort of like 7 or 8 o'clock screenings, which means you're going to be coming out at midnight. Can we have some earlier, please?
I'm really, even with the co-production with Paramount, I'm really pessimistic about seeing Killers of the Flower Moon in a theater, because the only time we used to get Apple movies were for those secret screenings,
Yeah.
those mystery screenings, and then we just never get those movies on their actual run.
Supposedly, the secret screening at my local that's happening in the next week or two is allegedly The Creator.
That
So,
makes sense.
even though it's coming out like the following day, you get a preview of something that's basically out less than 24 hours later. So, what special
See,
of that?
wouldn't that dissuade people from buying advance tickets? I think the mystery screenings at Regal specifically chose the movies based on that, where they would choose movies that where the tickets weren't on sale yet.
Well, I already told you about the furore that a lot of people had when I went to the mystery screening, and people thought it was Terminator, and then it turned out to be Inside Out. Because a lot of them were like, I'm seeing this with my kids. I've already pre ordered the tickets. Why would I want to see it now?
Well, that would have been 2015. That would have been Terminator Genesis. So, did anybody lose?
Well, the problem is all the clues seem to very easily point to Terminator.
That's
And
hilarious.
only slightly hinted towards Inside Out. Like, it's like whole bait and switch. Then again, they've also done things where the in trailer for the movie in question is actually shown in the preview, so people think it isn't coming up. So who knows? Anyway, Spencer asked us thoughts on The Big Chill. With old Bill Hurt. And
I'm gonna
others, of course.
this came up recently, and I'm gonna give the same answer. I hate to be lazy about this, but I made that video last year. There's a whole video devoted to when I did the William Hurt series. It was actually probably nearly exactly a year ago. It was September of last year. There was a big chill video for that William Hurt series we did. I did.
Shout outs to Kevin Costner being in the film by not even being in the film.
Yeah. I mean, they did. I bring this up in that video too. It's actually a pretty good reason they ended up cutting him out.
Yeah.
where they thought even if he was good in it, he couldn't live up to the way they built Alex up as a character. Like no actor could have lived up to how he's built up through the whole movie.
Birthdays yesterday: Kyle Chandler, Baz Luhrmann, Danielle Brooks, and the late John Ritter, Roddy McDowall, and Anne Bancroft. Joe always giving us the stuff that. Oh, The Big Chill was one of the People's Choice winners back in the day at TIFF, which is a good segue.
I can imagine so.
TIFF's People's Choice this year went to American Fiction.
Yeah,
The runners-up being
which means
Holdovers and The Boy and the Heron.
we, we get to start predicting Jeffrey Wright, and that makes me very happy.
That's Felonious Monk. Hell yeah. We better have some good Felonious Monk music in it, damn it. I wonder if American Fiction will now be a Best Picture player, or this will be an example of TIFF's People's Choice stat being broken as stats are meant to be broken.
Right. I
The
haven't.
problem is it's
We're getting ahead of
MGM.
ourselves.
So are MGM gonna give a shit?
Yeah, I want to. I mean, I first of all, adapted is really weak, so I feel like that's pretty. It's in a good place for that right now. Um, but apart from that, and me just saying now that we get to predict Jeffrey Wright for something, which is fantastic. I haven't really thought about it further than that, but that video is coming soon anyway. I think next week or something.
Let me see, because part of me is something is nagging in the back of my head that they've got something else out this that might get in the award season. I mean, technically, Bottoms. Oh yeah, Saltburn's an Amazon MGM film. Technically, even though internationally it's going to be a Warner Brothers. Then you've got Boys in the Boat as well, which has got a chance. And then technically Challengers, I think, is MGM as well. But that getting shifted to April, sort of frees that up a little bit. But, MGM's got a lot of interesting things as well to keep a hold of. Because I'd have thought, they'd probably want to push the hell out of Saltburn. Probably. I mean, I think it
So.
got good reviews from when it showed up at Telluride. Josie saying, so excited that Poor Things won the Golden Lion at Venice. Still means it isn't coming out here until Christmas or January, so sucks to be British.
Yeah, I don't want to completely explain what's going to go on in the Oscar prediction video, so I'll just say that's being taken into account, obviously.
One thing I'll bring up, because I'll forget by next week, because I did tease it yesterday in the movie club stuff. The Oscars are going to be on British television properly for the first time in like 20 years. After the ratings did so bad that Sky had to move it off their premium pay subscription thing and show it on the news channel as well as the Sky Arts channel. I guess as a final flourish maybe to their contract. For some reason, ITV have picked up the right. So ironically, the same place that Americans will watch the BAFTAs on BritBox, technically, if you count ITVX as sort of the same thing, because some of the stuff that's on BritBox can be accessed here via ITVX. ITV is I don't know how long term a deal it is, but It means like I'm gonna be able to watch it legally, properly, for a change. Okay, probably on a few minutes delay to me actually being downstairs and watching it on the TV, but that sort of came out of nowhere. Then again, I guess it frees up the schedule for them to just have nothing on the, or just repeats of like random stuff at like 2 or 3 in the morning. Instead, it'll be whoever's hosting. Because I don't have they revealed who's hosting yet? Has somebody been an idiot and say, "Yeah, I'll host this sinking ship"?
Heard anything?
Oh, today's birthdays from Josie. We've got Jason Sudeikis, Jada Pinkett Smith. Keep your mouth out of his goddamn mouth. Damn, that hurt. Nina Arianda, Tara Fitzgerald, Denise Menochet, and the late Jack Warden, Greta Garbo, James Gandolfini, and Fred Willard. What happened? I'm going to do that every time now, and then when we think of Fred Willard, it's just going to be. Josie asks you, AJ, now that you've seen Past Lives, are you Team Soon or Team Arthur? Who do you prefer Nora to be with?
Well, I gotta say up front, if I answer this question, some spoilers for Past Lives are probably gonna come up.
Yeah. Also,
I don't know.
I'll add from Josie, what I love about the movie is you can make an argument for both.
Yeah, very much so. The thing I'll say, I guess I can try to answer this carefully. Um, well, actually, well, there's something about. Well, okay. Actually, here's the thing. One thing that makes that difficult, and it's a testament to John McGar's performance, how much we feel for him, because the movie kind of does Arthur a disservice by the fact that we never really see their relationship when the other guy is not in the picture. So we don't really know how they were as a couple and how their marriage has been. But so that makes it difficult because I think what I said in the video was you can feel something between them that it seems like it's on another level than what she has with Arthur, but what she has with Arthur is really great and beautiful in its own way. So it's it's really hard to say, but I think the movie is kind of the way it doesn't really show us her marriage with Arthur kind of makes it hard to have a definitive opinion on it. But yeah, that like what you were saying, that's the beauty of it though, is like even when we don't see their whole marriage, you still just in the third act, he's able to make us feel for him so much. But then at the same time, when they're just kind of left, or when they're talking, and Arthur can't understand them, he has that great line where he says, "Oh God, what was it? I didn't think liking your husband would hurt so much." Is a really good line, and it's like that's so yeah, it does like that's why the movie's so great is how you just feel for all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to pick a side, but you're more prone to go with her childhood love because we've seen their whole epic story. But yeah, it's difficult, and the fact that it's difficult is why the movie's so great.
Josie also says, lovely review, by the way, in relating to Past Lives, I'm guessing. Also,
I was hoping I wasn't. It was we were so far. I put all my energy into talking about Boa's Afraid. I was hoping I wasn't half-assing the other four.
Hang on, another one here. Josie says, AJ, I also loved your versus video about the SpongeBob movie and the Rugrats movies. Everybody loving it. I have a versus idea for you between Fearless and Unbreakable. Has Unbreakable been done yet, or?
I did when Glass came out. I talked about the trilogy with
Okay.
Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. But that's a really good one. I might have to do that actually.
It goes into the lotto ball thingy and we wind it round.
Yes, yeah, it'll be about a year from now, but it'll happen.
Fearless trivia: the airplane crash site was recreated in the field in Central California in the southern San Joaquin Valley, and was exactly modeled on a crash that occurred outside Sioux City in '89. Hero from the year before, with Fearless coming out in '93, Hero '92. Two movies based around very similar subject matter released almost exactly a year apart. Some of the debris that was used in the crash scene in Hero was reused for the crash scene in Fearless.
Also,
Ironically, Peter Weir claimed that this film cured his fear of flying.
that's interesting. I would think the other way around, but okay. Um, Fun fact about Hero, the Stephen Frears movie she's talking about. Every video we do, it's in the shot. It's right here.
It's always there,
It's next
watching.
to it, it's next to Hereditary, which is tonal whiplash. When you're just looking at Hereditary's between Hero and Hercules, which is
Which Hercules?
the animated one.
Not the Dwayne
No,
one.
oh no, oh no, you better believe I love the Dwayne one so much. Yeah, that should have to be a Blu-ray. That's how much I love the Dwayne version.
We.
Oh yeah, check this out. I don't remember where I got Dwayne's Hercules, but you'll notice it said it was first of all, it wasn't new. It came from somewhere.
Okay.
But you'll notice it says it's a combo pack of a Blu-ray and a DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Blu-ray is in here,
Oh.
but the DVD isn't. Instead, it's a DVD of Wedding Crashers. So I don't know how that mix-up happened, but somebody's missing their copy of Wedding Crasher. And I already owned Wedding Crashers. Now I just have two DVDs of Wedding Crashers that exist.
Hercules looked upon the maze of the Minotaur and went, "Wow." um. Oh, Josie asking me a question. If you're a fan of Poe and Lovecraft, what are your favourite short stories of them, if you can name any off the top of your head? Less so on the Lovecraft stuff, but a lot of those short stories, Telltale Heart especially, with the whole psychological edge with that, is pretty good. Pit and the Pendulum, also with suspense, is good. It's sort of a shame that Hammer slash Roger Corman and whatever did what they did with them. Also, having seen the trailer for Bloomin', what's his name? Mike Flanagan? Because it was like Fall of the House of Usher. Oh, let's see what's going on here. This is interesting. And it's like, oh, great. There's a character that's exactly like Death in Mask of the Red Death walking around. There's a sort of there's a premature burial reference there and a Telltale Heart, and it's like, rather than just adapting Fall of the House of Usher, it's basically become a hodgepodge of just all of Edgar Allan Poe, rather than just trying to do a modernized version of Fall of the House of Usher.
Did you let me double check that I have the title right here. I think it's Extraordinary Tales, where it's an animated anthology movie, and they animated Poe stories in different styles. And they have like Del Toro narrated one and Christopher Lee. Yeah,
Oh,
Extraordinary Tales is the title. It came out in 2013. That
trying to
one's what
think off the
the
top
only
of my
the
head.
only the the only segment I don't like was when they did the Pit and the Pendulum, because the animation style they went with was like video game cutscene.
Hmm.
Everything else looks much more unique as to how it's animated.
I don't even know whether that's
And with
available in the UK. I think.
and I'll also just throw out, since she mentioned Lovecraft, I just saw From Beyond for the first time like a couple of weeks ago, and I knew I was expecting body horror because it's a Lovecraft adaptation, but that movie's fucking nuts, and I loved it. I think I loved it. I'm not completely sure, but I think I did. And it's completely fucking disgusting, which is exactly what you want out of that.
You know, it just. I was excited to see what the guy who did Haunting in Hill House and all that was gonna do with Poe, and
Yeah,
then it's like, oh, you just took a lot of Poe and you put it in a blender.
yeah,
Oh, that was the other bit. There's literally a bit where the guy's going nevermore, nevermore, and I'm like, oh god.
I love Flanagan, but I've like missed his last few series. I heard his Turn of the Screw adaptation was pretty disappointing too, which is unfortunate because I was really psyched about that.
I mean, it probably helped as well that the Poe short stories is something that we had looked at during school and whatever. So it was sort of, looking into that sort of writing. That's why I probably was connected with Premature Burial, and all them. Because it's weird that sort of, because like Fall of the House of Usher in the book is sort of like a quarter of the book, and the rest is literally short stories. it's just it's like
Yeah,
that's a
we
medium story. It's not short. It's not long. It's definitely not long. It's not blooming Ulysses like the Encyclopedia Britannica thickness, but
yeah, when we I don't remember why this was the case, but if I remember correctly, when we read The Telltale Heart in school, the book that it was in, it was written in a script format. I'm assuming that that's definitely not how it was written. I don't remember why it was in that format, but that's how we learned it in school.
uh, Josie asks, in honor of American fiction getting well received by audiences at TIFF, favorite book or books by writers of color? I mean, what I've read, and well, maybe not read, but what I've heard from sort of the abridged versions of Maya Angelou's sort of memoirs, or whatever you want to call it, the five that she did, they were sort of really good. The book of The Hate You Give is pretty good as well. Probably a little bit stronger than the film, even though the film is pretty good. Um, Girl, Woman, Other as well, from uh, Bernardine Eravisto, the one that won the Booker Prize, I think, a few years back, was really good as well. Those are the ones that come to my mind. Any for you, AJ?
Well, the problem with me is that I'm really hit and miss when it comes to book related questions. Because I hate how this sounds, but usually the thing that drives me to read a book is the movie adaptation already existing or getting ready to exist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically how I tend to enter the book world. So it's not like an expansive. I don't have like expansive talking points when it comes to books as much, unless it's something I've read relatively freshly. So I'm struggling to think of them. Period.
Another one that came to mind: Marjorie Blackman's Noughts and Crosses books. Really good. Shame that the TV adaptation, one, wasn't as good as it probably could have been from the book, and two, really wasn't given a chance. Like, they put it on sort of prime time stuff at like 9 o'clock, which I guess is fair, which is weird because it's sort of a young adult book, but then I guess Hunger Games sort of sways into that sort of bit. But then the second series, which turned out to be the final series, so you basically had to do the events of like 2 or 3 books in 4 episodes. Like, how they did that, I don't know. But the second series they just put on after the blooming news, which is at 10:45 at night. And I'm like, this is a good book series. Why are you not giving it a chance? You bastards. Um, Favorite work or works of literature pre 1900? Oh, 19th century books. I mean, obviously, a lot of Dickens would be in there. Twist and Great Expectations would be solid. Um, Obviously, Dracula as well. I think that's. There's still more to be mined out of the original 1897 thing that really hasn't been touched definitively in all of them, I would argue. But yeah, a lot of it would probably be your usual suspect sort of stuff. And then in terms of 18th century books, whoa. Gulliver's Travels always seemed to sort of be fun because you sort of didn't know where it was going. Okay, Jack Black did whatever the hell that was with it. But you know, that's
I
solid.
I will always appreciate Jack Black's Gulliver's Travels just because it's the reason Emily Blunt is not in the MCU, and she didn't like have to devote half her career to that. So I'm grateful for that movie existing based on that solely.
What books do you think best explore trauma and or PTSD? I mean, maybe to some extent, Gone Girl, because obviously, when the woman does her chapters and everything, it's her coming to terms with everything that's happened. I can't think of anything that sort of military sort of stuff. I guess some of the best, to some extent, would actually be like the poetry of like World War I and all that. Yeah, them going through this thing and basically doing the poetry saying, please don't do this again. And then 20 years later, they're like, Ah, let's have another one. There's a lot of stuff in like Pat Barker's stuff and Wilfred Owen's stuff that sort of really sort of like, they've seen shit on the battlefield. I guess it's a shame nobody listened till after the Second World War to some extent. Um, we now move from PTSD to priests. Um,
Ooh. Well then,
there's a connection there. Spotlight.
there's
Get it?
there's a few connections there actually.
Obviously, I'd imagine that many popes would be deacons, priests, or cardinals first. The other day, I was thinking about priests in films and which one would be a good pope. That said, what fictional priest would you like to see as pope? Father Ted Crilly from Father Ted? Or maybe Bishop Brennan, because then when he gets kicked up the arse, it would actually get attention. um,
Even after watching like the two popes, I don't know what the fuck the pope's job is.
he just sits around in his Pope-mobile. Um, although Francis doesn't do it as much. So the Pope-mobile only became a thing because John Paul was too frail, and I think Benedict was a bit afraid. Maybe, maybe which led to his resignation because of his past. I don't know. I'm trying to think. There haven't been. I think there was a.
I think you lost sound again.
Greenball Moose, good. I was trying to think of the Father Brown. I think there was a movie, maybe in the 50s, with Alec Guinness. Something's going on in the back of my head. There's been loads of like TV and radio adaptations, but him being the sort of uh, likable, amiable person that also solves, crimes and whatever. That's what the bloody Catholic Church needs. Somebody basically to go in like Columbo. Just one more thing, yeah, Cardinal. Just one more thing. Oh, Josie actually has some lists of them. Chamberlain from the Thornbirds. Andrew Scott, aka the hot priest from Fleabag. Yeah, that's a good one. Father Karras from The Exorcist. Or Father Merrin. Father Delaney from the Amityville Horror. Father Hess from Signs. Edward Norton and Keeping the Faith. Father Bobby Carrillo from Sleepers. Or the pastor Jacob Fuller from Dusk Till Dawn.
What does it say? I mean, what's it really say about religion that most of the movies with priests are horror movies? Like,
I mean, when it involves the devil, there's going to be a priest involved somewhere, isn't there? That's the problem. That's the stereotype.
well, let's hold on. Let's do the correct phrasing here. Um, Harvey Keitel in From Dusk Till Dawn wasn't just a priest; he was a mean motherfucking servant of God.
Yeah.
We gotta give him the full title.
Put that on the DVD box. First time watches since last time. The Whip and the Body, Bay of Blood, Bulworth, Mona Lisa, Gabba, Teenage Yakuza, Mill of a Stone Woman, Falling Down, and Made in Heaven. Some
These
Bulworth
lists,
trivia. Oh, go ahead.
these lists are always very varied.
There you go, all over the place. Some Bulworth trivia. Many objected against Beatty hiring Morricone to write the score. One of the reasons was his hefty fee of about $1 million. And Beatty eventually
I
won
mean,
out over his producers.
I kind of get where they're coming from because how much of that movie's soundtrack is just Cypress Hill?
Harsh, but kind of see your point. Um, Despite all of this, Morricone only has a little more than 10 minutes of his complete score featured in the final cut. There we go.
I wanted her to immediately follow it up with the rest with Cypress Hill.
Morricone was not pleased with the end results and what Beatty had done to his score. Sorkin and James Toback did a great deal of uncredited work on the script.
Sorkin on that movie makes a lot of sense.
There was a sequel in development named Bulworth 2000. Like Blues Brothers? The hell? Satirizing the 2000 presidential election that eventually got cancelled. Probably for the
I was
best.
gonna say I mean I was gonna say I don't want to necessarily spoil Bulworth for anybody, but I'm not sure how that happened.
Co-screenwriter Warren Beatty was described by writing partner Jeremy Pixar and biographer Peter Biskind as so insecure about his script that he went to former collaborator Elaine May with the script. She told him it wasn't any good, but Beatty suspected that because she was writing the script to pull up primary colours, that she was looking out for her own interests.
See, that's that's a very interesting dynamic.
The movie was nominated for Best Screenplay in the same year as Primary Colours in the
Yeah.
Adaptation category.
I mean, to be fair to her, Primary Colors is really fucking good too.
I know just as I was talking, nobody was responding, so unplug. Um, that's another thing we're going to have to weigh into next week at the award stuff. That Warner Brothers wants Barbie an original. That's not going to
That's
complicate anything.
we've got it. Yeah, we've got a whole conversation for that planned. I'm just gonna say this up front as a little teaser. I don't think that's happening. I do
Yeah.
not think they're not gonna get away with that.
Flashback to September '93 releases. Apparently, on the 8th we have the Joy Luck Club. I'm guessing that's Madame Butterfly. It's listed as M Butterfly. They trying to modernise it. And True Romance. Well, there's one big one. So it's officially its 30th anniversary. Well, this month, this week, A Bronx Tale, Airborne, Age of Innocence, Farewell My Concubine, Frauds, Naked, and Striking Distance. Quite a few there. And then for September 24th, Baccarat, The Good Son, Remote, and Warlock the Armageddon. The hell?
I don't even think Julian Sands was in them by that point.
In Bronx Tale Trio, when De Niro had trouble finding a suitable actor to portray Eddie Mouche, he asked Chaz Palminteri if they could find the real Eddie Mouche to play himself. After casting him, they became worried that Mouche would jinx the film, because on Montanara's first day of filming, it rained. The $150 a week that Sonny offered Lorenzo to carry numbers in 1967 would be the equivalent of $1,351 per week as of May 2020. With Caliguero's $600 in tips would be about $5,400. De Niro had to get a commercial driver's license, a Class B, with passenger endorsement to be able to drive the buses in the movie. The Boston, Massachusetts MBTA turned him down for training for his commercial license, citing he was not an employee. I guess they didn't want the publicity, so who jumped in? The NYCTA happily instructed him, and he received his license with air brakes and passenger endorsement for the film. Boston had an opportunity, and nah, it's too easy. At one point, Lorenzo tells C that he disapproves of interracial relationships. De Niro's been married twice, both times to African American women.
True.
And then Chaz Palminteri and David Krumholtz both have the same birthday of May 15th. Chaz voiced two animated characters who were junkyard animals that hated house animals. Because he was in
One of those. I was gonna say, I know what one of those is.
Yeah, it was Stuart Little as Smokey the junkyard cat who hated the house cats. And Lady and the Tramp 2, Electric Boogaloo. Sorry, Scamp's Adventures. Voicing Buster, a junkyard dog who hated house dogs. So I make note that down. Chaz plays characters that hate his own kind. There we go. Some true moments trivia. In a 2011 interview with the AFI, Gary Oldman, everyone, was asked to name his favourite role, and he chose Lee Harvey Oswald in JFK and Drexel Spivey in True Romance.
Yes.
I doubt he's going to say Oppenheimer, because he wasn't even credited.
I have I'm feeling a little bitter. I mean, True Romance is probably one of the best movies ever made, but I'm feeling a little bitter towards it these days. I had an unfortunate experience with it recently.
Oh.
Well, I had to update my editor recently. And so since it started working better and more clearly, I thought I should experiment. So I'm going to try to do Tarantino's edit of True Romance, including the alternate ending, where he talked about, on the commentary, he talks about how he was going to put it in order where, like, it was to the point to where the Drexel stuff has already happened when it starts. But he gets really specific about where the scenes are, to the point that I was able to edit it exactly the way he describes it. And it was working so perfectly. Like, here's the thing. The way the credits are, the beginning credits, where it opens with Alabama's narration and she's going to the movie theater. You know how in a Tarantino movie, the credits always stop at the producer credits so that the first end credit is written and directed by Quentin Tarantino?
Mm-hmm.
It just so happened that where it cuts off and jumps forward in time in Tarantino's version, the cutoff is where the producer credit is. So we don't see directed by Tony Scott right away in that version. It cuts off at the producer credits just like a Tarantino movie would. And then I think it goes from there to like the Hopper stuff. And then the Hopper stuff takes them to Rappaport. And then when Rappaport says, so what are you guys doing in LA? Then we see the Drexel stuff, and then it comes full circle. And then the second half of the movie is just the second half of the movie. I got it cut exactly like that, and it was beautiful. But I got a little cocky and was like, I'm gonna give it the original ending, even though Tarantino prefers Tony Scott's ending now. I was like, well, I just want to see what Tarantino saw to begin with, so I'm gonna take the alternate ending and put it in place. And then I did it, and then I even got it to the point to where the song that's playing in the because when you watch the alternate ending, it cuts off right before there would be credits.
Yeah.
It's just Alabama hitchhiking, and then it just cuts to black. I perfectly edited that to where the song that's playing bleeds into the credit roll. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever done with my life. And then it took like 3 hours to export.
Jeez.
And then it exported, and I just went to see if all the cuts, if they looked seamless, and they do. Um, but then when I added the alternate ending, there was a scene that was slightly out of place in the alternate ending. So there's one scene from the initial cut and one scene from the alternate ending, and the scene repeats twice. After all of that, there was one fuck up where one like 5 second window plays twice of Alabama like gasping or crying, and then the cops pulling in. And I was depressed for the rest of the week. It ruined my week. It was like I almost felt proud of a creation. I was that close.
I feel like I need to get that clip from something report of the week on YouTube. Like, this has ruined my day. My lunch is ruined.
I think it's. I don't know why I know this because I don't even watch that guy. But isn't it? I think it's my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. Is that what it
That's
is?
it. Yeah.
Oh.
Director Tony Scott gave Patricia Arquette the purple Cadillac as a gift after shooting wrapped, as the Ford Futura she was driving at the time kept breaking down. Although the movie was not directed by Tarantino, it's still considered part of the Tarantino verse.
There is one thing that makes me laugh now. When I was doing that, my first thought was, so yeah, this is basically a Tarantino movie because this is exactly what he wrote. But then my thought was, well, if it was actually a Tarantino movie, it'd probably have a different soundtrack. And sure enough, Aerosmith is used in True Romance. And there is a moment in Cinema Speculation in Tarantino's book where he's talking about the music that he listened to as a teenager. And he goes through all the popular bands that he didn't care about. And I swear there's a sentence in there that just says, I didn't give a fuck about Aerosmith. It's like, oh, that's funny. Okay, so the soundtrack absolutely would have been different.
The first clue to the Tarantino verse link is Lee Donowitz being the grandson of Sergeant Donnie Donowitz from Inglourious.
And the reference to Alabama and Reservoir Dogs.
Gary Oldman had his Bram Stoker Dracula wig maker work on Drexel's dreadlock wig and sported one of his eyes from the same movie.
Wow.
His 70-year-old mother was on set each day and he would solicit her opinions on his performances. The opera piece heard during the scene with Walken and Hopper is from Lakme by Leo Delibes, which is also used in The Hunger, which was another Tony Scott film. Spencer asks you, AJ, would you do a versus about Katharine Hepburn's first movie, A Bill of Divorcement?
Interesting.
Trying to put it with.
Is there something it explicitly goes with?
I mean, considering how the IMDb
oh my
says
God,
a man returns home after 15 years in a mental asylum.
Do you know what that plot sounds like?
Phew.
This sounds like a very dramatic version of Sweet Home Alabama. I'm sure. I'm sure it's completely different. So, as far as I know, Sweet Home Alabama does not deal with mental illness, except maybe the people that wrote it. But I'm sorry, Reese Witherspoon. I didn't mean it.
When's Legally Blonde 4 coming up? Harvey Weinstein, boo hiss, thought that Christian Slater was too good looking to play Clarence and told Warner Brothers he wanted somebody like Steve Buscemi to play the part. Warner Brothers immediately
I
fired
mean,
him
is
for this request, so Harvey went to Quentin Tarantino and told him that they're going to be partners and not associate with Warner Brothers after the film. Wow.
I mean, I don't want to defend Weinstein by any means, but the question I was about to ask was, is there a problem with Clarence being good looking? But I guess he is supposed to be like a loner, I guess, but he seems he's yeah. I don't know. I can't imagine anybody but Slater. But Buscemi would have been interesting, and I think he could have pulled it off. But it's one of those movies that you just can't imagine another way now. So yeah, fuck Weinstein. I'm not defending him or anything.
I mean, Jacob's a loner in the Twilight things. Does he need to be not good looking? What the hell? Favorite flat tire scene in a film?
Well, the first one's going to come to mind is A Christmas Story, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky Horror comes to mind. I love that the crowd clapping simultaneously with Brad in that moment is a thing.
I'm trying to think.
Is the Ione Sky scene in Zodiac a flat tire scene? Isn't that why she needs picked up?
I think so.
That would have to be up there.
Um, the only one that sort of came to mind because of just how awesome it would be if it was real life is Living Daylights. When the tires get burst and then it's like press the button and they mysteriously are unburst. They just pop back up. Um, I also see semi-obvious ones like Ford v Ferrari and Rush. Nocturnal Animals as well.
Oh yeah, that's like the scene of that movie. Oh god, you lost sound again. I should probably keep looking at the screen.
I mean, I can't look at the bars all the time. I can't have like a separate window up so I know. Um, I forgot there was one in Shallow Grave as well. Mainly because most of the time I think about that, it's just Keith Allen's dick just randomly is in the scene when they find the dead body. Like, what the hell? Why do you have to be?
Yeah,
Why do you cover yourself, man?
that's a Danny Boyle trademark.
Yeah, to be fair, Trainspotting did it. Uh,
20 days later.
Trance did it.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, that was both way round. He didn't in Slumdog. He let the side down with Slumdog.
I believe A Life Less Ordinary is also dickless. I believe.
That has has no dick.
Well, actually, I want to say Sunshine is dickless, but I'm not. Actually, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe Mark Strong. I don't know.
Favorite shoplifting scene in a movie or TV show?
Once again, naturally, Christmas is apparently playing a part in these. Home Alone is going to be the first one that comes to mind because I just love. I want the story on like Jimmy the bag boy who'd been waiting for a shoplifting case his entire life because he was ready to go.
I just realised I need to go straight back to Danny Boyle. The opening of Trainspotting. That's technically a shoplifting scene. It's them running out getting chased by the security and the cops.
The very beginning of the end credits of Scary Movie when we get the rules from Marlon Wayans, and then it's revealed what the rules are for. That's a great joke.
Which movie vampires would be most successful in pulling? Jeez. Sorry, everything scrolled down and we've got new names and everything. I need to get through some of these quick. Holy shit. Because I noticed the time. Which movie vampires would be most successful in pulling off a blood drive heist? The Lost Boys, the vampires from What We Do in the Shadows, Tom Cruise's character from Interview with a Vampire, the protagonist from Kronos, or Nick Cage from Vampire's Kiss?
I think the Lost Boys are a little too reckless to pull something like that off.
I would say anybody from Let the Right One In or Let Me In, whichever one you want to do.
Yeah, wasn't that that was. Oh yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of a plot point, but not exactly what's being discussed here. But it's something akin to that is going on.
Well, in essence, all vampires are going to have to do something akin to it.
Yeah, because isn't it the dad in Let the Right One In that's doing it?
Yeah. Well, dad.
Well, yeah, for lack of a better term.
It's sort of like Benjamin Button, but it's not backwards. It's just one hasn't aged for many a year for vampirical reasons. I do like the aspect of the vampire video game, though, in which there's a doctor who's a vampire. So it's like, do I help these people, or do I, because you have the ability to sort of suck them dry and sort of make them a husk, or sort of turn them into vampires yourself, but that means you basically can't go back to them and whatever. So he'd be the most complicated in a blood drive heist, because he'd be like, is this go against the Hippocratic Oath? Bry's got the Oscars game stuff there. Josie asks, what are our favourite People's Choice winners from TIFF over the years? Have we got a list?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
TIFF People's Choice Awards. Please help me, Wikipedia. No, I don't want to know about what won this year. I know that. I want to know what.
All right. Well, the Fablemans was the last one before American Fiction. That's definitely up there. Belfast, obviously. I love Jojo Rabbit, Three Billboards. There's a lot of great ones. You would think
you skipped Green Book. I wonder why.
This you would when you hear People's Choice Award, it can be a bit off-putting, but the TIFF crowd knows what's up. It
Yeah,
looks
like
like for the most
if you
part.
look at like La La Land, Room, Imitation Game, 12 Years a Slave, Silver Linings Playbook, Where Do We Go Now, King's Speech, Precious, Slumdog Millionaire, Eastern Promises, Bella Sotzi. I can't remember. I vaguely remember seeing that like 17 years
Yeah,
ago when it came out.
yeah, it's a really good movie, but I've never learned how to pronounce it.
Hotel Rwanda, Zatoichi, Whale Rider, Amelie, Crouching Tiger, American Beauty, Life is Beautiful, Hanning Garden, Shine, Strictly Ballroom, I noticed there. Stephen Frears, The Snapper,
Say the Snapper's kind of random, but I
Irish
dig it.
TV film, Fisher King, Cyrano de Bergerac, Michael Moore's Roger and Me, Princess Bride, Place in the Heart, even, Bad Timing and Chariots of Fire. What the hell?
Yeah, most of those are great.
And then Girlfriends that I never heard of until I randomly saw it in a video that I saw of somebody managed to get the archive of sneak previews with Ebert and Siskel both applauding it as like one of the best films of the decade, and like, but I've never heard of it. I've heard of all the other ones. What's this Girlfriends? Is that got a Criterion Collection? Probably. Uh, Josie says a question that crossed my mind the other day is: which fictional movie response you think would have a QR code? The first thing that came to mind for me was Dorsia from American Psycho. Huh.
I'm not technologically no Jesus Christ technologically advanced enough to answer this.
In hindsight, you'd probably want to put them in Blade Runner in some shape or form. I would have thought, but there's no sort of vivid restaurants that come to mind to that. Um, Bryce says I'm thinking of doing a Criterion Closet style video of my pick of the Criterion movies by each decade, or what I consider my favourite ones to own. And randomly adds I felt mixed with bamboozled.
I imagine. I imagine that's a common outlook.
uh, oh, Josie's got her buy one rent one lose one, which goes to Indiana. Luckily, it's not too long of a list for you, AJ. So, have you got your pen and whatever ready?
I do.
We have Close Encounters, Hoosiers, Rudy, Kinsey, Breaking Away, History of Violence, The Judge, and Going All the Way.
This one's easy, I think. I fucking love Close Encounters. I need it to be clear that I love Close Encounters a lot. I actually rewatched Hoosiers like last year, or the year before, um, and it's like really good. Like when I the first time I saw Hoosiers, it didn't really stick, but Hoosiers is really good, and I love like it. Rudy's one of those movies, especially. I guess you could throw Hoosiers in there also, where I basically loathe anything related to sports, but both of those movies are incredibly strong. Like Rudy stuck with me a long time after the first time I saw it, but honestly, A History of Violence is going to be at the top, and then Breaking Away, and We're Acting the Judge.
Yeah, the judge is probably the weakest out of a lot of them. Um, History of Violence would be the buy, and probably Close Encounters for the rent. Although I'm sort of also want to give a shout out to Kinsey. I didn't think that was actually too bad a film.
Yeah, that was also the movie we learned that Benjamin Walker 100% is a young Liam Neeson. Yeah,
More
like
so than
even as
any of
Benjamin
Liam
Walker,
Neeson's kids.
yeah, even as he's gotten older, um, you can still see it. And I love the fact that he plays Abraham Lincoln and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, given how long Liam Neeson was in the running for Lincoln before it was Day Lewis.
Richard Palmer Jr. and starts off with the elephant in the room. Why is Owen never here anymore? I'd say ask him.
Yeah,
In all
he
honesty,
I'll say
how political are we getting?
he will be here in November. That's what we know.
Yeah. At the minute, he's busy.
No, he isn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He'll see this. I'm sorry, Owen. That's not true.
He's busy with other stuff. He'll be busy with Wrestle Dream in a few weeks. I mean, so am I. That's why Horror Express is on the 2nd of October, not the 1st. Richard also says Criterion should release Love and Other Catastrophes. Yeah, it's not a bad film, to be fair. Coda should have never won Best Picture. Stupid. Bryce says when AJ
I don't mind.
mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
I don't mind when a crowd pleaser wins, honestly, because like we were, I feel like that's like because the thing that sucks about Coda is that if it had gotten its proper Sundance showing and not just like a wasn't it just like one of the virtual festivals that debuted at Sundance, and then if it had gotten like an actual run instead of being fucking Apple, it would have made like we were saying before, it would have been the My Big Fat Greek Wedding of this era, and the fact that that got taken away from it kind of stings. So that I don't mind it kind of getting Best Picture as a compensation prize for that.
When AJ mentions Cohen's Macbeth, I say, here we go again. Maybe I think this is because they haven't got to it yet, is because maybe they have Polanski's Macbeth.
I know, but they can. It doesn't matter. They should get. They might as well get Wells's while they're at it.
Richard says, I don't like Macbeth. I wasn't interested when it came out, and I wouldn't care if I ever saw it. What, the Coens one, or just all of them?
That sounds pretty
Ever.
general. Like, it just in general.
Josie says, what's the next movie club pick? Yeah, the horror month is what's happening. So it's technically our picks that you don't get a say on, but we had a say in what order they go. So October the 2nd is Horror Express from me. 2 weeks after that, on the 15th, will be the Frighteners from AJ. And then on the 29th, in or around the time, Chris's pick of Trick or Treat with an R. So yeah, that's your list. And then November is when we go back to sort of the regularly scheduled stuff. In which case it'll be mid-November's one will be Tomorrow Never Dies, and then towards the end of November will be Apollo 11. So that's roughly what your schedule is. But the next one in a couple of weeks will be Horror Express, which I double-checked last night. AJ can attest to this. It's on about 54 different streaming services, be it paid or not paid. So, and it's probably also up on YouTube. Because it may or may not be public domain. I don't know.
So that I have one of those 50 horror packs, and I think at least at the
In
time
which
that
case,
came
it
out,
must be
all of
public
the
domain.
yeah, they were all public domain, so it would have to have been at some point.
Josie says, I love and Other Catastrophes. Talking amongst each other of you, have you seen Strange Planet from the same director? Which Richard says he liked it, but not as much. Richard says, do you like Love Serenade to Josephine? And Josie's not seen it. And then randomly, I love Jeffrey Wright. There we go. Another one on the bandwagon. Yes. And it's available on Blu-ray for Umbrella's Sunburnt Country series. Unfortunately, Miura's Wedding is not on Blu-ray. Had a release, but I missed it, and now it's out of print. The Castle's on Blu-ray now. There's Bri talking about the Barbie and screenplay thing. Richard's been to Australia twice and it's amazing. Ever see Sweet Talker from 91? More stuff between... Oh, I see. It's more stuff between Richard and Josie. Find Welcome to Whoop Whoop. Does that involve the Insane Clown Posse? Whoop whoop. I'm not aware of that one. It's probably alright.
I think I saw it on IFC like 15 years ago, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. I think there's a sex scene in the desert. I think that's my only memory of it.
Oh, so basically it's got elements of Walkabout in that basically Whoop Whoop is a Australian colloquialism referring to somewhere in remote and whatever. Oh, Josie mentions that Air is Amazon. Yeah. I forgot about that. There's a chance it could show up.
And listen to this, Apple. Air just got its physical release this past Tuesday.
What?
Can you believe that?
Oh my god. Jinderbine's great but sad. Favorite shoplifting scene is previous when she steals the chicken and runs down the street. I wish that Ash had some kind of microphone because I can't hear him at all. But where my chair is, I can't. Also, the mic I'm using is legit just like a Guitar Hero mic from like 15 years ago. Mainly because I don't want to get anything more substantial because I'm trying to work how I can fit it in because I might be getting a new rig because basically I'm trying to stop. Well, one, I'm trying to make sure I can actually play sort of Steam games on it because I'm on Windows 7 on the current rig that you're seeing. I need to upgrade, so upgrading to 11 and hopefully getting some better RAM and everything running means it might not look as crap and I might be able to do more stuff in terms of like doing streams on YouTube on the channel possibly as well. Richard says, I like the idea of a bill of divorcement going with Kramer versus Kramer. Or maybe a marriage story.
Possibly. I did Kramer versus Kramer with the Squid and the Whale back in the day. that's been a long time.
Uh, Richard says I'd like to see a versus of the Last Unicorn and Nico the Unicorn.
I actually have not seen The Last Unicorn, but I do own it, and I think I forgot that I owned it until I literally just looked up at it right now. It's got a light blue spine, so it really sticks out. It's next to Last Year at Marriott, which I'm sure goes perfectly.
Also, Kids of the Round Table and Saltwater Moose. If you don't have access to Saltwater Moose because it was only ever released on VHS, there is a version on YouTube. They're both Johnny Marina films. He also did Boys of St. Vincent. He needs to be covered in all caps. If chat's gonna. Uh, 29. I'm just putting it in chat because Roy said the fright won't type it in. So I'm typing it in and also having to check. I'll just do them. I know the other two are in November, but that's your schedule tentatively for the horror stuff. My pick of Horror Express, followed by AJ's pick of The Frighteners, and Trick or Treat on the 29th. I also think The Challengers with Gemma Zamprogna of Road to Avonlea and By Way of the Stars, the long version, with Gemma and Jonathan Bennett, her co-star from Avonlea or Avonlea, would be good. The Sweet Hereafter and Looking Both Ways is another good versus.
Yeah, I need to tackle Going period. I did that really bad movie he did with Ryan Reynolds that just did not feel like him at all. But yeah, stuff like The Sweet Hereafter and Exotic and stuff like that, I really need to talk about.
Uh, right, so we wrap it all up with the Oscars game covering 80s cinematography. So, let me see if I can get the list as well to just double check what did and didn't win, and just so I can click through to other stuff as well. So,
If I
1980.
remember,
Go ahead.
if I remember, this one's weird because this year's basically either really boring choices or really out of left field choices with no middle ground.
To some extent. So, do we stick with Tess, or do we switch to Blue Lagoon, Coal Miner's Daughter, The Formula, or Raging Bull?
It's funny how we had the discussion last time about how unnecessary it is to split up color and black and white, and now I'm trying to decide between Tess and Raging Bull, and it's like these should be separate. Not counting the whole movies in Raging Bull before somebody pedantic brings that up.
Yeah.
Um, I would say Raging Bull,
I'd
actually.
probably edge it to Raging Bull myself as well.
It's the ring scenes. Because the thing you got to think about with cinematography also is people just think about, like, the widest shots or the nicest looking shots, and it's like, the camera moves and has to be positioned in certain ways, and you got to take that into account as well.
For 81, do we stick with Reds or go with Excalibur, On Golden Pond, Ragtime, or Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I would say Reds is one of the in quotes boring choices, but that's Storaro, isn't it? Who
Yeah.
is Storaro's a fucking beast, and I have no shame in ever saying him. So I would stick. I would stick with Reds.
Yeah, that's probably the best choice out of the list on the whole. Then for 82, stick with Gandhi or go with Das Boot, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, Sophie's Choice, Tootsie.
I I'm tempted to say Das Boot. Isn't that It's the guy that does the Verhoeven movies that shot Das Boot.
Yeah, Joss Vacano
But
did RoboCop and Total Recall.
yeah, he's incredible. But yeah, no, I know it might seem like the mainstream choice or whatever, especially when we have something like Das Boot here. But it's all day, every day. It's ET here for me. So
To me, it's between that or Gandhi because just like the whole aspect of trying to get a good shot of like a million extras, like legit a million for the whole sort of public bits, like is kind of ridiculous in a good way. For 83, we have Fanny and Alexander winning, or should we go with Flashdance, The Right Stuff, War Games, or Zelig?
is the most random damn lineup. I mean, I can actually kind of get what Flashdance is one of those ones where you have to really take into account like positioning and movement of the camera because Flashdance is grimy looking, and I actually think
Mm-hmm.
that's the appeal of it. Um, what else were we looking at? War Games is I love War Games so much. This is really random. Like I'd throw War Games into editing for sure. Cinematography is a wild
Yeah.
decision.
To me, it's a
I'm
toss
gonna
up
have to.
probably between Right Stuff and Fanny Alexander keeping it, maybe.
That's what I was down to. I was leaning towards the right stuff, but I might go ahead and stick with Fanny Alexander, I guess.
For 84, we have the Killing Fields winning over Amadeus, The Natural, A Passage to India, and The River.
There's a lot of yeah, you'd expect that to be here choices.
Yeah.
It's like, do you have to say David Lean because it's David Lean, or can we dismiss A Passage to India entirely?
I'd
I
probably
I
stick
honestly
with Killing
I
Fields, but I like the fact that we've got Amadeus in. To be honest, all of them maybe bar the river, but that's just because I don't know much about that one.
what's interesting is this wasn't one of the many Amadeus already won.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Killing Fields beating it is kind of surprising in retrospect.
Yeah.
Where you would think Amadeus would be the most boring and obvious choice, but I kind of want to say it. I think I will. I mean, the Killing Fields is great, but Amadeus is like I'm going against everything I said at the beginning here as to why I'm going with Amadeus. It's big.
For 85, do we stick with Out of Africa or go with Color Purple, Murphy's Romance, Ran, or Witness? Pleasant surprise there.
Yeah, Ron easily. Like that's
Yeah.
one. Cinematography is this really interesting category where it's like all the stuff that seems like it should be the runaway winner is usually just like the oh thank God it got in choice, where it's like oh at least it got in. That's something. And it's like in any other like scenario, it'd be like, oh, that's actually the runaway choice. There's no way that was getting beat by anything.
So much stuff of Ron is basically like, yeah, you can put that as a painting and put it in like a gallery. So many of the shots in that. Has to be that one. 86. 86, The Mission 1. I mean, it was up against Platoon and A Room with a View, but the other two, a Peggy Sue Got Married and Star Trek 4.
Well, Peggy Sue, I can kind of understand by the way the aesthetic changes when she goes back in time. I guess
Oh,
is that
true.
what did it? Oh, maybe it should be because I love Platoon, but I don't know if cinematography is the direction I'd gravitate towards with these other options. Those I don't know. The night scenes are really well done, but sometimes also the nights. Well, I would say some of the night scenes are dark to a fault, but that's probably intentional. Like
Yeah.
if you like really can't see or decipher anybody during the night scenes in Platoon, during battle scenes, I would say that's 100% intentional. So, God, this one's hard. Maybe it, maybe I'll just cop out and say the mission was a good enough winner. I can just
I was
say.
gonna stick with the mission, but yeah, I could see Platoon or even A Room with a View. To be fair, make it in there. There's some good shots there. Kind of what you'd expect with a Merchant Ivory thing, though. For
Yeah, yeah,
87.
because
Oh god.
I feel like it'd be really, I feel like it'd be really easy to dismiss the mission too, but the mission's got some wild shots in
Mm-hmm.
it.
For 87, Last Emperor 1, beating out Broadcast News, Empire of the Sun, Hope and Glory, and Matawan.
Saying Empire of the Sun is tempting, but Storar the Beast,
Yeah,
that I would not go against.
it's one of the
I can't.
best
Once
things
again,
that really that film had going for it.
yeah, I was gonna say
It
it's one of those
probably
ones where it's like it.
overachieved at the Academy Awards that year. I wouldn't say it didn't deserve cinematography.
Yeah, because you would think '87 was a really weak year looking at the Oscar results, but that's okay. Last Emperor seems like it'd be the boring choice, but it is kind of undeniable, isn't it? I guess.
For 88, Mississippi Burning 1 over Rain Man, To Kill a Sunrise, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Ooh.
Miss- Mississippi Burning is one of my favorite movies of that year, but the cinematography one has always been interesting to me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's undeserved. I just think it's interesting. And given the competition, Rayman's really fucking well shot
Mm-hmm.
in how it decides, like, between close-ups and then like really distant shots. And you would think, and it's one of those things where it might seem unnecessary when it chooses those, but when you've seen the movie like a billion times, like I have, it really starts to click is how
Yeah.
like precise those decisions were. The editing, especially in Rayman, really stands out when you've seen it enough times. I mean, I'll stick with Mississippi Burning, but these don't these don't stick out as with the exception of maybe the unbearable lightness of being, but it doesn't stick out like some of the other choices we come across, which I guess is a good thing because it's not like just being showy for the sake of it.
Yeah. I'd probably just edge it to Rain Man. And then 89, we have Glory getting the glory. Beating out the Abyss, Blaze, um, Born on the 4th of July, and the Fabulous Baker Boys.
I totally get Glory's win, and I'm really tempted to say the Abyss. I think my answer is Born on the 4th of July because the cinematography tells a lot of the story in Born on the 4th of
Mm-hmm.
July.
I'd edge it to Abyss, but it's close between that and Born on the 4th of July for sure. I'm still trying to work out what Blaze is.
I believe it's a Ron Shelton movie with Paul Newman. That's not very memorable. I remember that. I remember that. I remember the cover. I remember that I have seen it, but I could not tell you much of what it's about. I have it on Blu-ray because I have it's a Mill Creek 2-pack with Billy Bathgate,
Oh,
which
it's
I find Billy Bathgate to be very underrated. So that's why I own that.
because it's set in Louisiana. Probably the bayous look
Yeah.
nice. I'm guessing. Ah, so, the next category we've got to decide on is costume design. And we've already done the 80s. It's like we're jumping. We're jumping purposely to years we've already done. So,
Let's we can do the 2000s on that, I think.
okay. We'll go with the modern stuff before we have to
Yeah.
get to colour and black and white stuff again.
Yeah, because it's already you can already tell what kind of costumes we're going to be dealing with when we get to those eras, and it's
Yeah.
like it's all going to blend together. So, I mean, they're fantastic, I'm sure, but I'm sure they also it's a little harder to decipher the differences.
I don't think anything else has been put in chat. Luckily, so
That's good. I was starting to worry when you said we had a lot. I was panicking internally.
I was having to scroll through because of where Bry has it. It's sort of differently. It's halfway up with all the other comments that we had and everything. Um, Trying to think what Bry said his other thing that he was gonna do. Because I guess ensemble and casting would be the same thing. Because I'm just intrigued as to what would if BAFTA created the trend and we had best casting, like who would get the best job about who would get the awards for getting the best sort of casting and things. We'll extrapolate that out to some extent. The ensemble is obviously sort of the same. You're obviously trying to get the best sort of ensemble that sort of works together. So I don't know, I was just coming up with ideas. So we won't be seeing that for a month. No, actually, nominally. Uh, Let me quickly check on the dates. The next actual Q&A we'll be doing will be November the 13th, tentatively. For the month of October, you're only getting movie clubs from us. Well, and the monthly awards video towards the end of the month. In or around Trick or Treat. Bryce said the last one will be Best Animated or Documentary or International Feature. Lots of slashes. There we go. So, with that, we're done for this edition. As I say, Q&A goes on sort of the back burner for a month, while horror and stuff takes over the channel. The next time we'll be back live will be, I think it's a week on Tuesday, so a week tomorrow, the 26th. Double check. Yep, that's when I've tentatively got it in my diary in terms of when we'll be here to discuss the Academy Awards and everything, our top 8 categories. While you're here on the channel, though, check out all the other stuff that's here on the thing, be it my gaming stuff or my snack sashes, AJ's movie reviews and verses. Want to give a taste as to what's to come?
Right after this is going to be a review video that has Mario, the Turtles, The Little Mermaid, Across the Spider-Verse, and Elemental. And then after that is that verse, as I mentioned, and then after that is another retrospective thing. And then I think we're gonna have 2 verses in a row, and then Owen will pop in with something on the 24th, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
His annual Mountain Dew thing, and then then another retrospective, and then the Oscar predictions, and then we'll go from there.
I can't remember when my bonus things are. I know the. Well, I've dropped the tease. I might as well be less teasy about it. It involves elephants and Binding of Isaac. Because some of those days that are in that it marks are very random, but there we go. There's at least one more, I think, this month, and a few more in October, including the obvious sort of Halloween-based one. Probably going into, I think November 1st would be Day of the Dead, I think. Dia de los Muertos. You can catch up, of course, with Owen's other stuff, be it the Sip and Snacks, Voice of Liberty, the old HHN sort of shindigs, when Google Hangouts were still a thing. My word. That's all on the channel. In terms of socials, you can find me at Ash is my name UK. Find Owen at Sir Owen Disney. Find the channel at Popcast Network. AJ cannot be discovered on social media. And just like Keith Richards, also wonders why the hell they called it eggs. And also can be killed by conventional weapons. So thank you to Bry, thank you to Richard, thank you to Josie, thank you to Spencer. Thanks to those of you that lurked, that didn't type anything, because there's some of you out there that just watch along. So thanks for all that, and until next time, donkey with headphones. Let's get it in the mood. Come on, donkey.